Hello everyone. I thought today would be a good day to talk about someone whose name is consistently, repeatedly all over all my social medias. And unfortunately, that individual is none other than Bonnie Blue. And I'm kind of late to talk about what I'm going to specifically talk about today, which is her petting zoo. Every time I say that, I feel a tiny part of my soul disintegrate, but whatever. Because this all surfaced probably a month ago now, depending on when I post this, because it takes a very long time to edit because I'm a bit slow when it comes to things like that. There's always a time to talk about things like this, even if I am a month late. So if you don't know who Bonnie Blue is, she is a British OnlyFans porn girl. She used to be a full service sex worker, so like an escort, but then she recently, or not recently, but, well, sort of recently in the grand scheme of things, I think she's like 24 to 26, within the last few years moved over to OnlyFans. She oftentimes does these very dramatic, over-the-top videos where it's like, I slept with 1,000 men, I slept with 900 men, or something like this. Unfortunately, we have kind of seen the rise in videos like this because the thing is with online pornography is that people constantly want more. They want something more dramatic. They want something more demeaning of women. They being men, want to watch something that is shocking and dehumanizing, basically, in my humble opinion. And I have no sympathy for anyone who watches any of Bonnie Blue's content, so I'm not going to tread lightly when I talk about this at all, nor am I going to be sensitive when discussing the men who take part in Bonnie Blue's videos. And I've seen a lot of TikToks recently being like, why is everyone hating on Bonnie Blue so much? Why not the men? And I think the issue is that she knows what she's doing is wrong. She knows it's wrong. She knows it paints women in a bad image. She knows it's perpetrating misogyny. She knows she is harming individuals and she doesn't care and she'll still do it. But don't get me wrong, the men, the thousands and thousands of men who engage with Bonnie Blue, whether that be watching her, so that's in the millions, or are part of her videos, are much worse than Bonnie Blue. They are much worse than she is. There's one Bonnie Blue, there's tens of thousands of men in her videos, or who watch her videos. Because if the men didn't exist, the men who engage in her content or participate in her content, Bonnie Blue's content wouldn't exist. She wouldn't need to do what she is doing to get the money. She claims she does it because she enjoys it. And okay, right, everyone loves sex. Everyone loves having sex. But this is what makes her a bad person. I don't care if she enjoys sleeping with 10,000 men. I hate the fact that she posts it on the internet and the way she discusses it as she's posting it on the internet. Because one of the main criticisms I have of Bonnie Blue is the lack of respect she has for women, and especially women who are the partners of the men she's sleeping with. You can see countless videos of her talking about how she is so much better than the girlfriends of these men because she is providing them with more sex or something else than the girlfriends are. These girlfriends who are probably sitting at home going, wonder where my boyfriend is, while tidying up the house or making food for him because clearly their boyfriend is an immature, intolerable shit. The men in her videos, this is all over the place, this video. This video is all over the place because I have so much I want to say and I'm going to try and say it nice and smoothly, but it's probably not going to come out that way. The men who are in Bonnie Blue's videos are worse than she is. Much worse. By tenfold they are worse. And I think I harbour a lot more hate for them. I know I harbour a lot more hate for them than I would ever do Bonnie Blue. The issue is the way she treats these men makes her a bad person. The men who are in her videos, whether that be the videos that she posts of them doing the deed or videos that she posts of them on her social medias, they are granted anonymity. You don't know their names, they wear masks, you can't see their faces. They are just men to her. And to everyone on social media, they are just numbers. Man number 1 to man number 1,000. And she said multiple times, I remember someone asked her if she'd slept with any celebrities and she said, yes, I have. And he said, can you tell me who? And she was like, no, I can't tell you who because it has to be anonymous. But she won't hesitate in calling out the names of the girlfriends of these men. She will post videos going, we've got masks for the men with girlfriends, but then we'll make videos like this. This lack of respect for women is what makes her a bad person. I think she would be no worse than Lily Phillips, for example, if it weren't for the way she posts a concerning the men and concerning the women, because she will never ever hesitate to paint herself as being better than the girlfriends of the men she's having sex with. And I do believe that she thinks she is better than these women because she is providing them with something more. She's never slow to accuse the girlfriends of these men of not doing enough. Like, you don't F him enough, you don't give him enough blowies, like what. So she's filling this gap and she's doing it for them. And it's very distasteful and, quite frankly, disgusting to talk about another woman that way. But that pales in comparison to the ghastly behaviours of the men who engage with her. Her petting zoo, right, now I'm on the actual point of the video. Her petting zoo, which has been cancelled, by the way, in case you didn't see. I have my theories as to why it was cancelled, and so does everyone on the internet. But her petting zoo, there was one of her in one box. Do you know how many men signed up to be a part of this? Take a guess, unless you know, but take a guess. 10,000. 10,000 men signed up to do whatever they wanted to her in this tiny glass box. 10,000 men were willing to participate in something that could have got a woman murdered. 10,000 men who have absolutely no morals, no leg to stand on, by the way, because I bet you these are the same kind of men who will degrade women, call them whores, call them sluts, whatever, and chat shit about OnlyFans women, are engaging. 10,000 men signed up to participate in her petting zoo. These are men who are homeowners, they work around us. You might have walked past one in the street because it is the UK and I'm in the UK. I probably have. They will have families, they will have mothers and sisters and maybe daughters, and they are actively choosing to participate in something this disgusting. And by something this disgusting, I mean taking advantage of a woman. Whether she says, I'm fine, I like it, it's if they took 10 seconds to just think about this logically and say, I know she's saying she likes it, I know she's saying she wants to do it, but isn't this still immoral? Isn't this still incredibly dangerous? Isn't this harmful? Isn't this ridiculous? And they wouldn't do it, but they have no logical thought because they have no morals and they don't care about women being in danger because they don't care about women. You cannot participate in something like that and care about women at the same time. I don't care if it's getting you off. I don't care if it makes you feel good. I don't care if you want to do it. You are a disgusting and bad individual for doing something like that. And then continuing to exist in a society in which women are in harm's way regardless of whether they are put in a glass box or not. It doesn't just make you a bad person, it makes you a bad friend, father, son, co-worker, and just individual in society. It makes you the lowest of the low. Some of the most immoral people will be standing in that line, or would have been standing in that line, waiting to come in and put their grimy little fingers all over her. And yeah, you can sit there and say, but Bonnie Blue's a bad person because she signed up to do it in the first place. If these men didn't exist, if there weren't 10,000 men who were willing to sign up to do that, she wouldn't be doing it in the first place. If she didn't get millions and millions and millions of pounds for making this content, she wouldn't still be making the content. I bet you. Regardless of what she says going, oh, but I like it, it gets me off, I actually really enjoy it, I wouldn't even do it for the money. She wouldn't do it if there was no money. She would not do it if there was no money, and she definitely wouldn't post it on the internet for free. But the reason she cancelled her petting zoo, I think, is because she knew someone either told her or she came to the conclusion that she could be murdered. That's my understanding of the situation. That regardless of who is there, bodyguards, other people, men, women, whatever, there is still a likelihood that she will be insanely harmed or murdered. Because there's a study done recently that says about strangulation and during sex, and it found that harm can be done, permanent irreversible harm can be done in less than a minute. If one man decided to come in and choke her a bit too hard, she could be irreparably harmed. She could be killed. If one man managed to sneak something through security, she could be killed or she could be harmed. And you could say, oh, well, there'll clearly be security guards there. There'll be someone there to look after her. So I don't know if any of you are familiar with the performance art piece called Rythm Zero. So Rythm Zero is a 6-hour performance art piece by Marina Abramovich in 1974. And basically what she did was she sat in this, like it's like a art centre studio kind of thing, for 6 hours, unmoving, unspeaking, unreacting as much as she could. And she had a bunch of objects laid out in front of her. And she said that these people could come in and do whatever they wanted to her for 6 hours with no repercussions, and she wouldn't react, she wouldn't talk or anything. What do you think happened? Take a logical guess, because I can tell you. So the objects that were laid out in front of her included a rose, feather, perfume, honey, bread. It started off okay. People would, like, someone put her arms up in the air. People would be like doing her hair. There was like spraying perfume on her. But then even within the first hour, men started touching her inappropriately and very intimately. And as it progressed, it got worse and worse. Around the 2-hour mark, men were coming in and cutting her clothes off with the scalpel, and she was left naked. They were cutting her skin. They were drawing and writing things on her. And after a while, one person came in and loaded the gun and pointed it at her like jaw neck area. And she stuck to her word and she didn't move, she didn't say anything. And easily, when she wasn't reacting, she wasn't moving, she wasn't saying anything, one man, when she didn't speak back to him, came up and slapped her. And then when she didn't react again, he hit her even harder. One of those things where I learnt about this years and years and years ago, and people still don't know about it. And that's crazy. I think you need to know, you need to be aware of the severity of the harm that women are placed in situations like this. Because when she stood up at the end of her 6 hours with the gun to her neck, her skin cut, her clothes torn off, she was crying, as she would be, because she was terrified for her life. As she stood up and moved away, every person in that room left. Their faces were scenes of guilt and what's the other word? Shock. And they all left. They got up and left. The second they saw her as a human again and not just this performance art piece, it was too much for them and they left. Because the dehumanization of women in society is that they are object. That's what dehumanizing means. And this performance art piece was to demonstrate just how detached from reality, was to demonstrate just how when one is detached from their humanization, when one is seen, a woman is seen as an object, men will do whatever they like to her. Cut her, hit her, touch her, put a gun to her face. And the women in this situation were tending to her kindly. So the focus on what the women did isn't really available in many journals discussing this because they didn't really do much, is basically what I was trying to get at. And if they did do something, they tended to her quite kindly. They were, spraying her with perfume, basically helping her. However, they did act as a form of defense, because this is something else I wanted to get at. In Bonnie Blue's petting zoo, it would be her and men coming in, okay? And if she did have security guards in there, which I doubt she would, because then the men wouldn't feel as comfortable doing whatever they wanted to do if there were other people there. But if, let's say she did have security guards in, they would be men. In one of her discussions, Abramovich's discussions of Rythm Zero, she said that she truly believes that she would have been raped, other than the fact that the men's wives were there. And they were the sole reason that they didn't rape her, because their wives wouldn't have wanted them having sex with another woman, or because they felt as if they couldn't. However, if they were in the presence of only men, maybe it would have been different. And this is the kind of thing that I want to get at, is that men don't care about how other men view them morally, and they only do things as to not get in trouble or not get caught. So the men who are going to Bonnie Blue's Sleeping with 1,000 Men will wear a mask, not because they go, people are going to think really bad of me if I slept with Bonnie Blue. No, because they don't want their girlfriends seeing them, because they don't want their girlfriends to break up with them. The men at Rythm Zero would have raped Abramovich if their wives weren't there, if their wives couldn't see it happening. And to hone in on the danger that men place on women in situations like these, Bonnie Blue cannot defend herself against men. She is a small woman. She cannot defend herself against men, especially considering the image she has painted for herself. The image of, you can do anything you want, whatever you want, whenever you want, I don't care, I'm free use. Even if a man were to start hurting her and she was screaming, "Get off me, get off, get off," he would not stop. He wouldn't stop because of the shit she has said online. Like, "I don't care what you do to me, I love all of it." If she were to even just mention to a man at the beginning of all of it, "Hey, maybe don't do XYZ," I doubt that they would even for a split second think, "Yeah, maybe I probably shouldn't do that." I doubt they would care what she does and doesn't want because of the image she has painted of herself online, where she is saying, "I don't care what you do, you can do whatever you want, I love all of it." That is so dangerous. But once again, if the men weren't there to participate, she wouldn't be doing it anyway. So she's not the arc villain that everyone paints her out to be. The men are, but she is an instrument in the dehumanization that she is creating of herself and other women. Because quite frankly, it is going to carry over to other women. It is. That's how the world works. That's how society works. That's how socialization works. Oh no. Sorry folks, my camera died, as always. But yeah, that's how socialization works. That's how things affect the larger society. Because it's not just about her and her being in harm's way, which is obviously, I don't like the woman, but I don't want her to be murdered. Especially not by a man that she's inviting to do whatever. It is going to have a ripple effect. There are going to be larger consequences to what she's doing that don't just affect her. There already is. There already is larger consequences. People are having their shitty boyfriends go and cheat on them with Bonnie Blue because it's like this big new crazy thing that people have to do. And those women are being harmed. Those women having their names called out on the internet. It's ridiculous. But that's kind of all I have to say about this for the moment. She's obviously done other horrifically bad things. She's done worse. She herself has done worse. There is a video of her admitting to having slept with someone who wasn't old enough to buy alcohol, so she provided him with alcohol and then slept with him, which is rape. He was incredibly young. She's been kicked out of, I think, Fiji. She's not allowed into Australia because she is sleeping with these barely legal individuals. She's incredibly pedophilic. That's why I don't like her as well. Not just because she's, doing bad for women. She's a predator. She's an actual predator. But this is just something I wanted to talk about because I likened it in my head a lot to Rythm Zero, and I thought it'd be just quite interesting to talk about. But yeah, I have the world's worst upload schedule because it takes me so long to edit these videos. I also just want to say that the other day I had someone accuse me of taking advantage of sex workers by making videos and profiting off of them and their issues in life. I don't get paid. I don't get paid to make my content. In the future, I'd love to, but as of right now, I only do it because I like talking about these things and I think they're interesting and I want to share my opinion and have other people's opinions. I don't do it for money. Hopefully in the future, if I do get paid, I would probably change the things I talk about and talk about more systemic things, other than things like Bonnie Blue. But I just thought this was really interesting because I quite like art history and I find Rythm Zero very interesting. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for... Hang on, how do you draw a 4? Other way. 4. Okay. Well, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for 400 subscribers. Thank you so much. Not the biggest number in the world, but genuinely means so much to me because I do put a lot of time and effort into these, whether you believe it or not. And I apologize for the awful frame rate. Whenever I upload to YouTube, the frame rate just drops because of the file size or something. I don't know. I'm trying to fix it. But yeah, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. I feel like a beg when I say that, but please like and subscribe, and I'll see you at some point.